If the only prayer you said was thank you, it would be enough, said the German mystic Meister Eckhart. Today's word is gratitude. Gratitude, appreciation of kindness, thankfulness. The root for this word, so it goes into the Proto-Italic gratos and then to the Proto-Indo-European. Don't know how to say this one. Gerh, so ger, I guess. And it means to express approval, to praise, to elevate. And I noticed that I have been remiss in my previous video on the Celtic word bard. I went off on quite a tangent about the poet and poesis and making, which I hope was insightful. But the root for the actual word bard is the same root as uh, as gratitude. Okay, so hopefully that sort of ties into the broader picture here. This same root we're discussing here, Gerh, to express approval, to praise, or to elevate. So the bard is one who praises, sings the praises of heroes of old and the ancestors, etc. This video is not about bard, it's about gratitude. And a good way into this, I feel, is to contrast it with um another word, and that is gravity. Okay, so like think of it this way. So gratitude, it expressing thankfulness and gratitude is to elevate, is to praise, is to raise, praise, elevate, lift up, uplift, give up, or like appreciate a kindness. But then the appreciation of a kindness or a mercy or a grace is the really it's the appreciation of a gift, something that's come from above, freely given, like a mercy, a grace, a gift. We could say the gift of life, for example. Often with these things, it's things we take for granted. That's what's quite interesting about this etymological adventure we're on, is that we can get to some very primitive meanings, which are so fundamental to our human experience, and yet may have become hidden through the film of familiarity, as Coleridge called it. Yeah, so I really want to give this contrast. I think contrasts and opposites are helpful ways to evoke meanings of words. Gratitude, uplift, elevate, uh, sing the praises of. And then we have gravity. Um, we have gravity, and we have gravity and we have grave. Yeah, like grave, heavy. Like a grave is literally like a heavy place in the earth where people are buried. Um, and gravity is again like a falling into the earth. So we have like gravity, down, heavy, this downward heavy tendency, and gratitude, gravity, gratitude. I like expressing these ideas yeah dramatically, obviously. But so basically the concept is just light and heavy. So the essence of the this word is quite a simple one to convey, I suppose, because gratitude is connected with the elevation of the spirit and like uplifting lightness of being. We can also see this, in the dramatic form, comedy and tragedy. Is life a comedy or a tragedy? Is life leading to lightness, uplifting, or is it leading to downness, heavy, crushing, and oppressive? This is the perennial question, I suppose. Comedy, tragedy, gratitude, gravity. And I would like to invite you to consider how these qualities do indeed permeate our lives as lived qualities. We can feel this lightness when we give thanks. Giving thanks, thanksgiving, gratitude is an appreciation, a consciousness of something that has already been given. And this gratitude is the whole theme of gratitude is something I've thought quite a lot about it. Um, because it's connected to the general theological notion of grace, grace being a gift being something given which you do not earn. You did not earn birth into this life. You did not earn consciousness. You did not earn your mind and the great beauties of the earth and all of these things. These things are like a boundless treasure trove in that sense of like glories, wondrous, wondrous glories, an ocean of wondrous glory. And they do say that philosophy begins in wonder. Wonder that there might be anything at all, and the great mystery of that. The paradigm for this, which I often think of, is this lightness of being, that is, this gratitude, is the child. And this is a theme drawn on by many romantic poets. I'm going to give a reading from Traherne, who sort of anticipated the Romantics on this theme. And I think I'll conclude the video with that. But the William Blake, for example, wrote his songs of innocence and songs of experience. In other words, songs of levity, songs of gravity. Youth and age are features of human existence, of course. We start this life in our youth and leave it in age. And there is a kind of wisdom, I very deeply feel at least, and I think the romantics, Wordsworth, Blake, Coleridge, and Traherne too, and indeed Jesus Christ in the Gospels, he says that unless we become as children, we will not inherit the kingdom of God, which is a very sort of weird thing to say. But I my view on this, I suppose, is that it's connected to this levity thing, yeah, because like the child's consciousness, which is all of our consciousness originally, it's like we all can recollect this time before time, this um openness to the wonder of being, really, like the influx of meaning and wonder and beauty and joy of childhood. And the whole of reality is thus experienced as a kind of grace, as something, the appreciation of a kindness, even if the child, may not express gratitude and may have to learn to say thank you and stuff like this. Of course, that's like a process of maturation. But the point I'm trying to express is that there is a kind of immediacy to grace in childhood, in the sense that there is we're like immersed in love, and um yeah, we're held by love basically as children. Ideally, of course. And I've mentioned before that it can be it is indeed a deep source of trauma for that not to be so. Um, right. So gratitude. I mean, yeah, gratitude's connected to lightness. So I think gratitude is connected to just the consciousness of the gift of life, being, um, the consciousness of that, the thankfulness for that, the 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 generous move of the heart back to as if our whole being says thank you for this gift. Because the way I see gratitude is that the the principal truth is that we have received way more than we could ever repay, way more than we deserve or have earned. We will receive um, a plenitude, a superabundance um, in this life. Well, life itself really is like just this incredible thing, and then being a human being, and then having consciousness and a mind and freedom and such. What one could go on forever about what there is to be grateful for, really. But then this returns us to our theme of recollection and forgetting, which we've talked about, which I talked about in another video on the word recollect, because this is something to recollect. It's not something, because the way I see it, yeah, is that like this is the truth of like being held by love, being held by an outpouring of divine love, and that this is the primordial truth to remember, and that it's a case of forgetting and moving away from that truth, a scattering of that truth, a being cut off from, a fragmentation away from that truth. And that pattern is a gravity pattern, in the sense of it's a heavy pattern, it's a weighing down pattern. What one is tempted to talk, of course, of heaven and hell in such terms, for heaven is that realm of light, and hell that realm of heavy earthboundness, being crushed by the weight of our forgetting, really, of the great levity of being and the levity of the spirit. So levity, gravity, gratitude, gravity. Yeah, I just said the same word, but like, yeah, like lightness, heaviness, lightness, heaviness. And the thing is, and this is like gonna be no surprise to anyone to hear this one, life can be hard, and life is hard, and life can for sure weigh upon us, all sorts of ways, that relationships, losses, pain, hardship, etc., can weigh upon our consciousness in a very felt sense. We can hold it in our bodies in stress patterns, even in like there's all these muscles in our face, and if you bring awareness to it, you can see how you're holding tension or you're holding heaviness, even just sort of like looking like this versus just like this, where muscular tension is, where stress is, etc. Yeah. So basically, the way I see it is that we have these sort of yin yang principles, or like these opposite principles. Gratitude, which has this root of lightness, just in the etymology, and gravity, which has this root of heaviness in the etymology. So we have like levity, gravity, comedy, tragedy. And it's not to say that like life isn't heavy and shouldn't be treated seriously, like it should. And like there's a sense in which like we of course need to mature and become adults and to take on some gravity, heaviness, weightiness to our character as we mature and develop. Otherwise, we're just children like our whole lives, yeah. And there's for sure a sense in which like the Peter Pan and the Lost Boys thing is a cautionary tale, like we need to grow up in that sense. But for my own part, I think that that's true, but I think that's not the end of the story. I think like that there's like a return that is characteristic of the full cycle of human life, that we grow and mature into adults from our childhood. But I think there's a sincere danger. Like, in fact, I might think it is the danger actually of life is to grow up in a sense. Like I really do think that. Like in a sense, like as I'm saying, like in a sense, of course, it's like really important to grow up in the sense of maturing, taking responsibility, being capable of facing the heaviness and the gravity and the seriousness of life, loss, death, suffering. These things are real. These things are heavy. I don't deny that. And it can be a loss of innocence to encounter them, really, like it wakes one up to life. Um, but as I say, I think that that waking up to life, that growing up, can happen. What am I trying to say? I'm trying to say that that heaviness can lead us into a cynical hell. It can lead us away from life. Indeed, it does lead us away from life. It leads us to be resentful, cynical, bitter, angry, heavy, and to really let the weight of the world crush our spirits. And that is hell. If hell exists, that is it. And so I do think that the classic one I always go to in is from Harry Potter, where Vernon Dursley, Uncle Vernon, says to Harry Potter, "There's no such thing as magic," and keeps him trapped in the cupboard under the stairs. Like this is an image of the old the old one who knows the old songs of experience tainting innocence, the overreach of the saturnine senex crushing the spirit of youth. And I really do think that there is a sense in which this levity of youth must be kept in every moment of our lives. There should never be a point at which there is a break or a rupture with that youthful wonder, openness, presence, curiosity, and engagement with life. Indeed, I think that's what the ego is getting me onto like a whole tangent here, but like that's what the ego is like we mature into this like habitual story about who we are, who we're meant to be, what how an adult is meant to behave, etc. And we lose that sheer energy of curiosity and wondrous openness at the mystery of being, which is the birthright of every child, which we all had at one point, every single one of us, and simply can forget, fall into a sleep and a slumber as regards that through a heaviness and a crushing of the spirit, through an excess of gravity and an absence of our word for today, gratitude. And I don't mean this in a moralizing sense, like you should say thank you more often or something like that. It's like, I mean, we probably all should say thank you more often. Like, I mean, it would be good for our souls. Like, but I mean it in a deeper sense. Like, I do mean that. Like, obviously, like there is a lot to express thanks for, and we can go through life like all of us do, I'm sure, with a very heaviness and just like a lack of consciousness and appreciation around the many gifts around us. But also just if our life could be a great prayer of thanks, as Eckhart said, to really, really hold, see, and deeply appreciate all that there is to be grateful for and to be thankful for. Um, I mean, that's the essence of the spirit of gratitude, as far as I can see, and test this out for yourself. It has an elevating effect, an uplifting, elevating effect. It counters the heavy tendency of gravity, and gravity is real, and gravity is important. But the optimist in me, I suppose, thinks that life is a comedy, ultimately, and that this lightness, that this gratitude must ultimately win out over the gravity of things. Um, and I don't really have like a good argument or something for that. I just have like the buoyancy of the human spirit and the great radiance of hope, wonder, and joy that are available to us if only we look to see what is there as a perennial gift, an outpouring of divine mercy and divine love. Someone who has expressed these things far more eloquently than myself is Thomas Traherne, one of my favorite poets. And so I won't read the whole poem, but I'll read some of the poem to help give a flavor of these themes about gratitude that I've been touching on here. So this is from a poem called An Infant Eye. A simple light from all contagion free, a beam that's purely spiritual, an eye that's altogether virgin, things doth see, even like unto the deity. That is, it shineth in a heavenly sense, and round about unmoved its light dispense. The visible rays are beams of light indeed, refined, subtle, piercing, quick and pure, and as they do, the sprightly winds exceed, are worthy longer to endure. They far outshoot the reach of grosser air, which with such excellence may not compare. But being once debased, they soon become less active than they were before, And then, after distracting objects, out they run, which make us wretched men. A simple infant's eye is such a treasure that when 'tis lost, we enjoy no real pleasure. Oh, that my sight had ever simple been, and never fallen into a grosser state. Then might I every object still have seen, as now I see a golden plate, in such an heavenly light as to descry in it, or by it, my felicity. The radiant words of Thomas Traherne on the subtle, illuminated consciousness of childhood and its fall into a grosser, heavier state through the course of life as it moves outside of itself into the things of the earth. I'll conclude the video there. I wanted to emphasize that the word gratitude has to do with lightness, has to do with elevation, has to do with praise and singing and giving thanks for an unearned gift, a grace, that a mercy, a love that is primordially received by us all in the sheer exuberance, wonder, and magnitude of being. And the heaviness, the grossness, the gravity, the denseness, the cynicism, the anger, the pain, the stress that can taint and weigh down and crush that spirit. And to emphasize with Eckhart that if the only prayer we said was thank you, it would be enough. Thank you so much for listening. And if you enjoyed this video, please give it a like. And if you'd like to hear more videos like this, subscribe to the channel. And I'd love to hear any comments below. Thanks for listening.